everybody. Welcome to TFT, Tarot for Today, Divine Dabblings with
Oberon.
And me, Banshee, and it's Oberon's
Goth
Tarot.
It's a somber reading for the emotionally challenged, the perpetually depressed or emotional or goth feeling. Although we realize, some of that's just appearances, just an act, whatever. We're here to basically look at the shadow issues of our lives.
Who's acting?
Some goths, not all.
All right.
Here I am with my foppish hat and outfit.
And his brand spanking new glasses.
But Banshee joins me on the first episode of each month as we kind of outline an idea of where we want the shadow work to mostly focus on. And we use a particular oracle tool that we think is very great. It's called the Cries of the Soul's Oracle.
By Isabel Surf. And it's put out by Rockpool Publishing. And if you're interested in doing your own personal shadow work, it's a very useful deck. Highly recommended.
Absolutely. We're so glad we use it here. So the thing is that the information on each particular shadow is very complete. It goes through a number of phases, and we've kind of divvied them up for the purposes of how we have adapted it. So we will cover different areas, and we will go from that idea in the supplement book, and then also supplement ourselves with the exclusive Erethereal Shadow Work Tarot.
And our own intuitive insights.
Right, and we pull the card to kind of supplement the particular areas of the reading that are highlighted through the Cries of the Soul's Oracle. So first up is, of course, what we call the dark shadows. What is indeed haunting us this month?
What is the shadow work?
What is it?
I don't know. We'll find out.
Did you already shuffle?
I did, many times.
And I did a little bit too.
All right.
All right, what is it to be?
Wow, it's certainties. Certainties. And it says, my thoughts open me up to inner and outer change.
I'll get that a little closer view while you read.
I shall. All right, number 5, certainties. The wisdom of this card. And remember, it speaks like it is your shadow. We hate change and do not mature. We are your thoughts that have been locked away, the ones that can never be renewed or confirmed. And we come from your difficult life experiences or fear of your sentiments. We appeared without having been digested first, and we lock you into a particular way of doing and being that doesn't necessarily work for you because we don't adapt in any way to your inner movements. We reject contradiction. And that's it. And I think, if I'm getting this correctly, the shadow, I feel it's about people who refuse to change their mindsets, their beliefs, regardless of the fact that it may not be working anymore. We're just so stuck in our certainties as to how things should go.
And you know what that
Am I right about that?
It kind of reminds me of what on a professional level, certain kinds of professions are known as change resistors. People who maybe have learned and mastered a system, and in order to provide cover for themselves, sanctuary for themselves, whatever it provides for themselves, security, they refuse to make, the changes that are needed, most likely to advance the knowledge of the program or the profession, that kind of thing.
Well, we call people change resistors, but in all fairness, I think too that people become so comfortable with their beliefs and their way of doing things that they That's why they don't want to change. They don't want to accept something outside of the known and the comfortable. It provides them a sense of security and comfort, always knowing what to do, always doing things the same way, nothing to disrupt that pattern, which is essentially, though, unfortunately, unhealthy. We all must change.
Well, I might be jumping the gun here, but to some degree, it kind of provides the idea that maybe we're recovering from some things in the past that were painful and that maybe triggered us, and so we never wanted to let that happen again, so we found ways to kind of build a barricade or a facade or whatever you want to call that to resist change or whatever might push us into those possible situations.
It's exactly true, Mr. O. What is next?
Wow, well, thank you. So I guess we will move on to the Dark Whispers.
All right.
And the Dark Whispers are what you need to know more about the situation. So that's going to come from the supplemental section of the Cries of the Oracle, and then we will choose a card, we will draw a card from the Erethereal.
We know that we reassure you. Thanks to us, you have an opinion on everything that helps you categorize things and a never-changing point of view, ignoring the dynamic nature of the world. Most of our energy is linear, and we are predictable, and that is very reassuring. When communicating with other people distresses you, or a feeling invites you to move out of your comfort zone, we arise and remind you of those thoughts that have been grounded in you for a very long time, which helps you create inner peace. Well, again, you can see quite clearly here that this is about people who, they don't change with the changing dynamics of the world around them. That is essentially a change resistor, I say.
In some degree, it is because of the need to have control, perhaps because as a childhood or in some other, volatile state of development, we didn't have control and we felt there were emotional or other consequences. And so now we are determined to never lose control again. I think that's a big part of it.
It may be true that some of the people who exhibit these tendencies were raised in an environment which fostered change resisting, and if they tried to act out of the norms that were expected of them, they were put back in their place. And there may have been some pain involved in that. And obviously some lasting scars, and then now perhaps you too are a change resistor.
So we will draw a card from the Shadow Work Tarot to see what else it is we may need to know about our own personal certainties and what it is that is pushing buttons here. All right. And it is the reversed Nine of Pentacles. Nice, of course, it fits.
Wow, it does. We do not like stepping out of our comfort zone. We want to feel comfortable, safe, and secure. And these feelings of ours keep us feeling that way, regardless of how much pressure there may be on the outside to change.
So what you need to know is that this affects you in many ways. Maybe it means that you can't go spontaneously to, meet somebody for coffee or for dinner, or to go to a movie, or to go to a library with somebody, or go anywhere where you might feel you can't have that control of the environment. And so you limit yourself, to new possibilities, new adventures, or even just camaraderie or fellowship with people that you might care about because you have this uncertainty about where things may go.
New experiences, new beliefs. This whole, way the world is divided today, a lot of it does have to do with ingrained kind of programming and thinking that that everybody who is just standing, standing their ground, they don't want to budge because this is what makes them comfortable.
On a collective level, this may be happening with a lot of people who feel like they can't challenge the status quo because
that's true too.
They may have had their own personal interactions with it or know of other people, and they feel like there's just too much uncertainty in kind of speaking out for themselves or for their peoples. Alrighty, so I think that's a good commentary there. We're going to move on now to the section we call the dark drama. The dark drama is how others or outside events may inadvertently trigger this. And for that, we're only going to draw from the Shadow Work Tarot.
Wow, it's the Ace of Pentacles. How interesting. The impetus to grow, to step outside of the comfort zone and grow and learn new things and flourish. This is what triggers it. This is absolutely what triggers it. You don't want new things. You want the same old, because that's all you believe in.
So despite, the fact about how you carry yourself and how much this is important to you, you may be surrounded by the usual crew of suspects who are your friends and family and other people who don't necessarily always see this about you, or who in fact are trying to draw you out, trying to make you experience new things, trying to make you grow in certain ways,
trying to get you to accept things.
And so it creates too much triggering. It creates drama for you, and it may have the exact opposite of the perceived effect. It may make you feel less reluctant to try to get out more, from your perceptions there. Sad. So from here then we will move to the dark truth, and the dark truth is that truth that you must accept. And this will come from the Cries of the Soul warning section, which Banshee will read, but we will also draw another card from the Erethereal.
You are a thinking being who can't control all of your thoughts. You can, however, tame us and create a new relationship with us by restricting our access to your mind, so then we become warnings. You can question the event that caused us to appear and ask yourself what other thoughts you are shying away from. You need to be driven forward and can't do that on your own. But we will fight and do everything we can to remain your primary voice. Creating a new relationship with us is going to ask you to invest in a lot in yourself, but we know you can do it. Well, I got a little confused with the way this was worded at first, but I do feel that they do fight back when you are challenged to try to do something new and accept something new. You fight, instead of fighting them and trying to create a new relationship or to try to balance and create a new relationship with them, you allow them to have sway over everything else. And so the impetus to grow just kind of sits there, flatlines, because you just, you can't allow that in, because these other things are what's really controlling your thoughts.
It's like you're letting these other people around you and these other situations around you, and their friends, co-workers, neighbors, whatever they are,
community.
You're kind of letting them become an avatar, or maybe more likely an archetype of what represents the bad thing to you, that somehow subconsciously or otherwise this is the challenge towards you. And so you don't see them necessarily as somebody that maybe is trying to be helpful, even if they're not exactly doing the right thing, but they are in a way.
That's true.
So what else then is the truth that you must accept from the Shadow Work Tarot?
It's the Queen of Wands.
And the Queen of Wands is upright.
I almost feel as though the warning is, do you or do you not want to achieve your full potential? Do you want these voices to speak for you all the time? Is there something inside of you that is being silenced that needs to come through and shine to the world?
You know, it almost sounds like maybe there's a revelation there too, that there is some particular thing that is the root of what causes your change resistance, your belief in just sticking with the certainties. And to some degree, I can look at the Queen of Wands or the yearning for the Queen of Wands as somebody who needs to find their voice, who needs to be able to speak loudly, confidently, and with, you know, a sense of ownership or agency about a truth too, you know, that maybe needs to be said. And no, I'm not necessarily talking about, you know, somebody was abused in the past and they can't talk about it, but on some level, it could take some degrees of that, just secrets that we've held on to, and they don't allow us to confront this or to move beyond it. Wow. Did I just say a mouthful there?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's now
You
time for
did.
the dark gift. And the dark gift is the hidden abilities, powers, resources, aspects of yourself that you can help you cope with what this haunting is, the certainty. And we're just going to use a card from the Erethereal Shadow Work.
Wow. It's dark, all right. It's the Emperor reversed.
It's the Emperor reverse. It's interesting, the idea of power in some of these cards, you know, or control.
So this is the ability or power, resources, or aspects. Well,
the Emperor reversed.
I think here that what this talks about in a way is you trying to control the narrative from these voices within. This is about loosening that control. This is about you don't need to, you know, control your environment to such an extent as you are. You need to be more open to new ideas, more ways of doing things, understanding that some of perhaps the beliefs of the past, like racial segregation and religious indoctrinations, may not hold today the same as they used to. And it is time for you to at least be open to other possibilities and loosen the control you have over, you know, the over control you have over yourself and what you will allow yourself to think or do.
That's pretty well said there. You know, as a dark gift, you know, a thing that is your sense of power, this Emperor reverse says that maybe you should realize it does take more people than just yourself to assert yourself. And so this is saying when you've denied the people who wanted to give you advice, which we mentioned elsewhere, you know, that kind of took away from your ability to absorb something that was really intended to help you. And so your dark gift is realizing that people are your allies and you should not be so stubborn. Because I think the Emperor reverse could represent a very kind of fixated stubbornness.
So
from here then, we move on to our final card, and we call that the Dark Destiny or Dark Light Marriage. And that's the integration of shadow and light. So Banshee will read from the moving forward section of the Cries of the Soul's Oracle, and then we will also pull one last card from the Erethereal.
To create a new relationship with us, you need to focus on your thoughts. Whatever you do, don't try to escape us, as it will only strengthen our presence. Write down everything you hear, and then listen deeply to your feelings. Make a list of the sentences that reassure you, that help you have a positive image of yourself and give meaning to your experiences. Why are you afraid to see yourself as you truly are? We urge you to use mantras that foster self-love and think about the steps you can take to enhance your self-esteem. Well, that's interesting here. They turned it around to this idea of self-esteem, and there is a truth there. You know, if we are unwilling to grow and we are unwilling to change, do we really trust and like ourselves? Do we really feel good about ourselves? Why are we wearing this facade that we need to stay the same? We don't. I mean, look, I'm going on 70 or I'm going on 69, the last year of the 60s. I'm not the same person I was, when I was in my 20s. I carry some of those characteristics with me, and that's the point. We need to carry the things with us that uplift us, that allow us to change and grow, and not the ones that are keeping us down.
And to some degree, I felt the last few things you're saying are saying that maybe people with this idea, they're in a form of a Stockholm syndrome where they're beholden to other people or situations to enact their behavior. They don't want to get out of line because they might fear being noticed or being, spoken to about that in some way. And so they're just sort of trying to ride under, the radar a little bit with some of this behavior. And so the integration is saying, accept that this is not really what's going on, that it's maybe more your own sense of imagination that you feel you need to fly under the cover there. But let's see one final last card from the Shadow Work Tarot. Did you have something else to say?
Well, I was just going to say, we can't escape these voices. It's true. And some of them may be the true, authentic you. It's you that has to sit down and focus on your thoughts, like this suggested, in order to figure out that relationship.
All right.
Okay, well, it's the Seven of Wands reversed. Stop feeling that the world is out to bring you down. They're not. The world is out to help you grow. Everything out here that we experience is helping us grow and experience new things. It shouldn't bring you to the point of feeling all of these things are out to get you and your core, and that's why you hold on to these voices and let them override you. But no, basically the world wants you to open up and let them in. It seems like a battle, to you, and a battle that you can't win. But maybe the idea is not to win it, but to accept it.
And that's a good point there, because we're talking about integrating the shadow and the light. And of course, we end with a card that, depending on its disposition, is all or nothing. And so the idea is to not settle for that, but to find ways to reconcile, to pull that together like that dark light marriage, and realize we don't all have to be big winners, we don't all have to be big losers. We just sort of have to learn how to get along with everybody else, try to support each other's goals, or make room for other people's goals as long as they're not in the way of our own.
And instead of trying to always make everything seem like, okay, my path is certain in life, everything is certain in life, accept the fact that there are going to be times where there's a lot of uncertainty in life. You have to be prepared for that, and you have to understand that. And you have to realize, too, that not all uncertainty is here to do you harm, but it's here to grow you. It's here to strengthen you. It's here to challenge you into being a bigger, better, brighter person.
And then to realize, too, that your gift is the true Emperor archetype, that you want to work with other people. You want to work from wisdom's sake and from a sense of really what's best for everybody as well as for yourself.
Oh, this was kind of a deep and involved card. I hope people...
I really thought it was going to be not exactly this way, but I'm kind of glad it turned out this way.
Yeah. So, hey, feel free if you have any comments or questions. Mr. O always likes feedback. And this looks like an interesting one for you to pursue in the month ahead.
In the upcoming weeks, we may review some tangential issues to this as we move through the weeks. There are cards where I suggest what are the distractions you face, or what are the other legitimate things you have to consider. So check out my other Goth Tarot through the week, and of course those will be collected in 2 different playlists, the current month's playlist, Shadow, and then the Goth Tarot playlist, all on our YouTube channel.
And I we'll be back to see you with Mr. O at the beginning of May. So I hope everybody has a fruitful month ahead working on these issues. And
don't forget to watch our other shows. Tomorrow night we are live from 7 to 9. We are also here. I'm here Friday mornings for the emotional exchanges at 7 a.m. We are here for happy hour, right, on Saturday.
And we're here for our live show from 7 to 9 p.m. on Thursdays.
I mentioned that.
Oh, I didn't think you did. Well, we've had some technical difficulties. We're hoping we have a fix. We're not sure because still the problem lies with YouTube, but we have a fix, so we think it'll work.
Who knows?
All right, everybody, take care, and I'll see you next month. Have a great month ahead.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.